The summer of 2002 was a very hot one in Venezuela, not just because of the weather, but also for political reasons. The then Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez accused the United States of supporting a coup against him that temporarily forced him out of power for 48 hours. 6 months later, Chavez came roaring back to power after winning a landslide in the elections. While the US officials have denied their involvement, CIA documents which were later revealed, it indicated that the then George Bush administration was aware of the coup against Chavez just weeks before it happened. This led to claims that the US condoned or even facilitated the coup, although investigations have not found any direct evidence of American support for the coup itself. But a generation of Venezuelans, led by their then charismatic president, Hugo Chavez, believed this to be true, that America interfered with the intention of kicking Chavez out. 22 years later, it's a similar political landscape in Venezuela, which has been tumultuous, particularly in the context of the recent summer elections and the third term of President Nicolas Maduro. Despite the opposition's efforts and a claim of a legitimate victory by the opposition, Maduro's regime continues. One of the main reasons for Maduro's party hanging on to power is by attributing this to challenges by external interference, particularly from the United States. On Crux Decode, we explore how America has been perceived to be sabotaging the electoral process in Venezuela. What may be the implications of Maduro's actions once again to crush dissent and take severe action against opposition leaders, and the broader question of what may this mean in the context of international relations affecting Venezuela, seeing it as a pariah country in the third world which is ostracized by much of the Western world. The Venezuelan government has consistently accused the United States of meddling in its political affairs, following the controversial presidential election back in July of this year, when Nicolás Maduro was declared the winner for a third time. The US government recognized the opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez as the rightful winner. This acknowledgement was met with accusations from Maduro and his administration, which claimed that America was attempting to undermine Venezuela's electoral process, whether that was in the form of sanctions or other forms of interference. The Venezuelan government has portrayed the US sanctions as a direct attack on Venezuelan sovereignty, claiming that these measures are designed to destabilize the country and sabotage its elections. Maduro has also argued that these sanctions are part of a broader strategy to support regime change in Venezuela, which the administration officials describe as a well-orchestrated effort by Washington to install a puppet government. Moreover, the Maduro administration has also alleged that America is responsible for various forms of sabotage within Venezuela, including accusations of electrical sabotage during power outages which have plunged the country into darkness from time to time. Officials have often blamed the opposition for these outages, framing them as attempts to create chaos and undermine Maduro's government. Despite the opposition's claims of winning the election and widespread support, Maduro's government has employed a range of tactics to suppress dissent. Following the July election, which was marked by allegations of manipulation, Maduro's regime initiated a crackdown on opposition leaders. Edmundo Gonzalez, who was the opposition presidential candidate and who asserted that he won the election, has been targeted with an arrest warrant citing various charges including usurping public duties and collaboration with organized crime. The opposition's challenges are compounded by the arrest of key figures. Maduro's government has systematically jailed opposition leaders, effectively silencing dissent. This repression has also been characterized by international observers as a violation of democratic principles and human rights. And yet the Maduro administration continues to justify these actions as necessary. And then over the weekend came the news that Edmundo Gonzalez, Venezuela's opposition candidate, had fled the country on a Spanish Air Force plane. It took the entire country and the world by surprise. The past year has been marked by months of repression leading to the disputed presidential vote. The vote was followed by a brutal crackdown by the government of Maduro, and still many Venezuelans were holding out hope that there would be a negotiated exit of the Maduro administration, which might step aside and let Gonzalez, who is a soft-spoken former diplomat, assume power. His departure from the country on Saturday narrowed down that slim possibility even further. and it came even as Venezuela's security forces surrounded the Argentinian diplomatic residence in Caracas, where 6 top opposition leaders have been taking shelter since March. But that is not all. On the other side of the spectrum, in a dramatic turn of events, there were reports last week which suggested the seizure of Nicolás Maduro's private plane in America. This has been interpreted as a symbolic act of defiance against America. The US has been implicated in this incident with claims that it was part of a broader strategy to isolate Maduro. This seizure, coupled with the ongoing sanctions and the diplomatic pressure, reflects a concerted effort by America to try and diminish Maduro's support and his influence in government. There is, though, limited evidence of direct American interference in Venezuela's elections. But the US has applied significant pressure on the Maduro government through sanctions. In the past, the US has accused Maduro of profiting from illegal narcotics shipments. It's also imposed sanctions against his top officials like Diosdado Cabello, claiming that all of them are part of a systematic campaign of aggression. Back in 2019, something similar happened when the US and 50 other countries recognized the then opposition leader Juan Guaido as Venezuela's interim president after Maduro, again, the election of 2018 was deemed by the US and its allies as fraudulent. The US has since applied sanctions to pressure Maduro. The same thing has happened again now in 2024, with America and its partners recognizing Edmundo Gonzalez as the rightful winner of the election. The US has also indicted Maduro and other officials on narco-terrorism charges and offered rewards for their capture. 2 American mercenaries were captured during an unsuccessful 2020 invasion attempt. The international community is also divided over the situation in Venezuela. While the US and several Latin American countries have condemned Maduro and his government's repression of dissent and the opposition, other nations, including Russia and China, have continued to back Maduro. This geopolitical divide, it complicates the situation even further as Maduro's government seeks to leverage support to try and counterbalance America's interference. The ongoing political crisis in Venezuela also has significant implications for regional stability. The US has expressed concerns over the potential for increased migration from Venezuela, even as the economic and political situation deteriorates. This migration poses challenges not just for Venezuela, but also for neighboring countries that are already grappling with their own economic issues.